Hello, everybody, and anybody listening to this podcast at this moment. This is the Contemplative Currents podcast by Sherry Kurino. So, I wanted to take the opportunity of the very first episode to express the intent of this podcast. That will be what to expect from each episode, who this podcast is for, and what's truly exciting for me about this project. So, I'll start with the latter, and that's with why I'm excited for this project. So while I've been on the other side of the mics on interviews with a few dozen podcast hosts, I strongly resisted starting yet another project. But in the wake of my last book launch, that's my book, This Glorious Dance: Thoughts and Contemplations About Who We Are, I found myself drawn to finding expression and celebration for the realization of who we are at the very core. Though at the end of the day, the mystery that we are is inexpressible, I find outlets like writing or painting and now talking to be yet one of the ways to share this excitement together with everyone and all beings. So I echo the sentiments of the anonymous Zen master who said, "If I speak, I tell a lie, but if I remain silent, I am a coward." So yes, in choosing not to be a coward, I will not do justice painting and coloring the mystery of our true self entirely. And yes, I admit I will fail right from the beginning to express in full. But one thing that I know is with this podcast, what comes up for me and how this excitement, how this energy finds expression in me is something that I want to put on the mic here. So really, what this podcast or this project is going to be all about. At this very moment, this is just going to be an extension of my Substack. So if you're not already following that, it's sherkuyinu.substack.com. I think I'll put that in the show notes here. So I see this as a project that serves as a gentle reminder of our true essence. It will also feature mindful contemplations for those seeking to explore the depth of this essence, the essence of our being, the glorious mystery that we are before we tarnish it with the content of our experience. So I intend to at some point also have guest interviews with contemplative authors, teachers, spiritual directors, and what have you. I have a few people lined up that I'm looking forward to working with. So altogether, I believe you'd totally dig this podcast if you're drawn to discussions or thoughts and conversations about non-duality, about Christian mysticism, about self-inquiry. That's something I'm going to talk a lot about, or that I'm always excited about doing any activities that requires peeling back the layers that we've used to cover the realization of ourselves. I'll also be working through through the dense nature of our experience, especially with things like our emotions and how they paint experience. That's something that I'm really, really passionate about talking about also. So, yes, if you're drawn to truth, this podcast is just ripe for you. I was also going to say, I find that I may end up using language that's more for anyone in the non-dual space. You may find it easier to relate better with the choices of language. But that's still something I'm going to work on. Anyway, so at this time I intend to drop an episode every week. But lest I forget, from my current ideation, this podcast will best be listened to not when you're driving. So if you're driving or if you're doing anything really active, I'm not very sure it will serve you right to listen to this. So if anything, I may suggest listening to this when you're least disturbed, particularly if you're in bed or you have a quiet space, or you're in that space where you want to do some self-examination. You want to lock your closet, your room doors, to say, okay, this is something that I think I want to explore, and I want to explore this from my direct experience. So yes, there's going to be, I would say, the path I'm taking in a lot of these conversations will be more direct path, if you know what I mean. And I think I'll explain more of that in upcoming episodes. So I totally look forward to watching how this project evolves. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me a message or a text or a DM. See, I'm not very hard to find on the Googles on the internet. So I look forward to getting some feedback, questions, suggestions, and all of that as I walk through this podcast on this project. It's a wrap. This is episode 1. May grace and peace be with all of us. May we continue to stay in the remembrance of our true essence. Thank you.